Okay, so we boiled the skull and essentially got all the, any meat or any tissue or anything left on there. I have a little bit of cleaning left to do. I got a little bit of stuff that's in the nasal cavity and back here too. So, but for production purposes, I'm going to go ahead and get to the final step, which is the actual bleaching of the skull. One thing I do to make preparations for that is I take some painter's tape and wrap around just around the base of the antler an inch, inch and a half. That's just to keep any material in this bleach material from getting on the antler and possibly bleaching it out. If it does, it's little, you hardly ever notice it, so you're usually okay. And plus it cleans up real easily. So it's a process. It takes time to actually do its work, so you have time to clean the antlers off if you'd like. So this skull has basically been drying for about a week and a half since we boiled it. And by that I mean when you boil it, you're really soaking the skull, so it absorbs a lot of that moisture. So I like to let it, kind of hang dry for, at least a week until the bone's really dry. And then once you add this material, it's kind of a liquid form. It helps absorb better into the bone. So it's not a proven theory, but it's my, it's from my personal experience. So anyways, the material we're going to be using is hair care products. You have an activator which has a percentage of peroxide in it, and then a lightener, which, if I'm not mistaken, is actually a powder or dry bleach. There's no recipe for this. Actually, when you tell them what you're using this for, they're probably going to look at you crazy. This can be purchased at a beauty supply store. They call them Sally's, or you may even be able to pick it up in a big retail store as well. So yeah, there's no set consistency to the material. So you want something that's going to stick to the skull. You don't want it running off. So you'll see once you add the dry to the wet, where it should be. It's pretty simple. It's not real complicated. So I already had a little bit in here, so I'm just gonna add, a good bit. I put it in a bowl or a cup, something disposable. And you're gonna add your powder. Like I said, add a little bit first, and you go ahead and mix it up. It's messy. My wife's probably not gonna like this. So you want it to get kind of, I'd say a little less than peanut butter. People use that for a reference, but I'm gonna say you'd want it a little bit less than that consistency. You don't want it that thick, but then again, you don't want it. I have a little bit too much in there now, so we're gonna add just a little bit more. They say to use this, the more the lightener you use, for hair, the more naturally the result you're going to get. So we're going to go ahead and load her up and get somewhere, it's drippy, but just enough. You want it to stay a little bit, in a kind of a pliable form. That way you can get into a lot of the little places on the skull. So I use a paintbrush. It's probably the most practical way. I prefer one about half this width. It helps you really get into a lot of the small spaces, but this is all I had, so I usually throw them out when I'm done. You could probably rinse them off and reuse them if you wanted to. So this step is just coverage. You want good coverage. Like I said, this stuff's fairly cheap when you buy it, and this is probably the third or fourth skull I've actually done with this, and I still have enough for at least one or two more. So be generous with it, because that'll save you. Sometimes you can get one good application, that's enough. I usually do two. I don't think it causes any harm. So we're just gonna go ahead and start putting this on. Like I say, you want to be careful not to get it on your clothes, the antlers. I probably have a little bit anyways, but because it is bleach and it'll bleach your clothes. So, but yeah, you just spread it on, and you want to get it every little nook and cranny you can. I like to really pack it in there and paste it in there to where it's full. But we're going to do that. We'll just keep going. We're going to do inside the nasal cavity, the back, top, bottom, teeth, everywhere that there's surface. So it's going to take a couple minutes, and then we'll check back in a minute. Okay, we're done coating it. It takes a couple extra minutes. As you can see, I was really generous with it. You know, I got some to spare, so I just went ahead and pasted it on as good as I can. Like I said, you wanted to get into every little small space. It gives it a better overall appearance. You don't have that contrasting of shades or colors. So probably the most difficult areas is right around here, and then inside the nasal cavity. Up in the bottom, it's not as visible, so it's not as important, but I still try and get a lot in there. So what I'm going to do now is I'll let it sit for probably close to 24 hours. I like to give it a good, let it sit in for a while and do its job. Probably come in tomorrow after work. I'll go ahead and rinse it off, and then I'll take a look at it and see how I like it. The last couple times I've done 2 applications. I don't know if it's because I've done it outside in the winter and it's cold or what, but we're going to leave it in the house tonight, and we'll see how it turns out. I don't think doing a second application necessarily hurts it, so it's just all in what you prefer. One thing I've done, and I've heard in the past, is people set them out in the sun. Well, I tried that a couple years ago. First of all, my skull, I didn't use any type of degrease or anything, and I still got that yellowish kind of off color on the actual skull itself. And then plus I let it sit out in the sun for a couple of days, and it actually bleached the antlers out, kind of like a shed antler will do if it sits out in the sun for a long time. So I personally wouldn't recommend that. Like I said, I'm no expert at this. These are just my personal experiences after doing half a dozen or so of these in the last couple of years. But this was the result of sitting out in the sun. I'm not happy with it. It's in my home. It kind of lays off to the side though. But so like I said, we're going to let this sit, and then we're going to rinse it off, and then tomorrow we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at it. So we'll see you then. Well, it's been a few days. I ended up doing a second application on this one. I just wasn't happy with the first. It didn't get the whiteness that I was looking for. So what I did was rinse it off. I let it dry for an hour or so, and then I just repeated the same step and applied another application. This material is several years old, could be losing some of its potency, I'm not sure, but anyways, this is the end result. I'm fairly happy with it. Again, the whole thing's a pretty simple process. It's a little it's a little messy, as you've seen in the beginning, but it's definitely worth it. These are becoming some of my favorite mounts to display in the house. So over the years, it's kind of a trial and error thing. I've gotten mixed results over the years. This is mine from last year. It's my bow buck. Like I said, it came out pretty decent. I still have a couple spots with a little bit of discoloration in them, but I was pleased with that one as well. Another one from several years back. Again, this is when I was fairly new to it. I think I actually used hydrogen peroxide on this. The skull was a little off-white. I actually tried to put a little spray paint on there, and that just kind of ruined it. So I spent time cleaning it. So, like I said, you get different mixed results doing this. It's just something you'll learn over time. So, but that's about it. I hope you learned something. And next time you shoot a buck, you like to display a nice skull mount in your home. This is the way to do it. Thanks for watching.